And I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up. The good life, oh.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Average Chad Lifestyle. I am Chad Snyder, and today we have a very special guest. He's on NBA TV. You can catch him on numerous shows, Shacked and a Fool. We have Ro Parrish here today. Ro, thanks for being on here today.
My man Roscoe! Greetings and salutations, my brother, man. Greetings and salutations. People listen to your podcast. I'm just going to take it over real quick. People might not know that Chad Snyder was a badass quarterback back in the day, doing his thing, wearing that number 5. He was all the way live. We used to have a lot of fun in our days playing for the greatest high school in the state of Texas, DeSoto High School, that boasts over 40 NFL athletes.
Ooh.
And, has produced players that have accumulated over 500 scholarships in the last 20, 30 years. So we were a part of that great tradition, and my man's doing his thing now. So I just had to shout him out to start the thing properly.
I appreciate that, man. We did have fun, man. DeSoto was, we were at the beginning of all of that, man. It started with Hanspard and all them.
Much love to Stacy Mitchell, Byron Hanspard, Larry Oliver, Jimmy Wyrick, all those OGs, man. I love those guys. I keep in contact with them regularly. They had a huge impact on us as youngsters, but even moving forward, like, they were the best.
Oh, absolutely. I remember we were at Eric Huddleston's house, and he lived over on Faircrest, and Stacy Mitchell lived across the street, and we were in, middle school, basically, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and he was junior and senior in high school, and we'd be playing football out in the yard, and he'd come throw with us and just take off running, and
Impossible.
Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah, man.
So how you been now, man?
Everything is good. This whole pandemic situation has us operating just a little bit differently, but you know what? In life, you have to adjust to change. Just like in sports, we learned back in the day, you have to make adjustments and figure out a way to win the game. So that's essentially what we're all doing as humans now. How can we still win the game with this situation that's in front of us?
Oh, I completely understand. I can tell you right now, man, it looks like you're doing all right for yourself. You seem to be winning right now. I see you everywhere, man.
Yeah, I'm a few places, and according to the phone that you have, apparently my net worth is substantially higher than I thought it was. So I appreciate that, and I need to do some recon and see where the remainder of that disposable income is, because I don't have possession of it.
It's an annuity somewhere. You'll get it later.
Right.
So right now you're on NBA TV. Are you still doing DJ stuff on the side, or I say on the side?
I like to call myself the retired DJ. There was a point probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and I said, I don't want to be, and no disrespect to any older DJs, but I said personally for me, I don't want to be the 50-year-old DJ. I don't want to be the 40-year-old DJ. I don't want to be the guy whose main source of income is just DJ. And throughout my career, ever since high school, I always done something with music or television, whether it be hosting or playing music. So I just decided to put my focus more towards being in front of the camera, because I knew I had a better chance of succeeding, and it had a better chance of longevity as opposed to being a DJ.
Oh, I understand. I completely understand that. And speaking of, you talking about high school and stuff, you went to UNT, correct?
Right.
You did radio and television?
Right.
And I'm assuming you did stuff with their program there.
I like to say the University of North Texas is the University of Miami as far as it goes for putting out talent in the radio, TV field, multimedia space. There's a number of outstanding professionals, guys like Ben and Skin. I think about Tim McMahon. Those are the guys that were up there with me at the time. So we put out a number of talented individuals from that department.
No, it seems like Kevin Turner. He's on the Eagle now. He's with Ben and Skin. He's from UNT.
Right.
So you're at UNT. What were you working for the college as well, doing stuff in their media department?
Yeah, well, I was all over the place, man. Like one of my biggest mistakes is I waited a semester. My freshman year, I got there. You know, you get to college, you're not really sure what to do. You're kind of figuring it all out. I remember going to the radio, TV, film building, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Well, I'll come back later." When I should have just dove right in. I finally got my mind right in second semester. Then I started doing television producing, editing, putting together many movies, doing stuff for the football team. I came this close to trying out for the football team and running track. And then I was just like, you know what? I think I have the talent to do it, but do I really have the drive to do it? Looking back, maybe I should have pursued it because I was still young. But I said, you know what? Let's look at the long play. Let's look
Right.
at building our career and trying to do that. So I just dove right in, man. Like I said, I was all over the place. Multiple TV shows, I produced and I had interns with the Dallas Mavericks and Channel 8. I was really trying to dive in and like, okay, how can I be great at this? That's what my focus was.
You interned under Chris Arnold, right?
Correct. There's a famous story about me and Chris Arnold. My senior year at DeSoto High School, where I went to K104, and you know, growing up, K104, the morning, that was a huge deal. They were really big. So I was so hyped the night before. You know, I didn't go to bed probably until about 1, 2 a.m. And morning shows, you have to get up early. So my dad was like, okay, I'm going to wake you up at 3 so we can go be there by 4:35. So I'm up all night. I'm hyped. I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be on the morning team show, da 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 da. So he woke me up. I had a car. I drove there, and I'm just going on straight adrenaline. Everything's dope. And the plan was for me to shadow Chris Arnold at K104 and then go with him to the ticket. So I'm hyped the whole morning. The morning show, they have all this energy, excitement. They're doing skits. Like I'm on cloud, forget cloud 9. I'm on cloud like 21. I'm on a whole nother level. So it came time to go to the second half. So mind you, I hadn't slept probably about an hour and a half. We're on 30, not the new 30 highway, not the Tom Landry highway that everybody knows in Dallas that has 6
Right.
lanes. We're on the 2-lane, still construction I-30, and it's bumper to bumper traffic. I'm following Chris in my white Nissan Stanza. He has a Land Rover, Land Cruiser, some Range Rover. It's huge. I nod off at the wheel, rearing Chris Arnold.
Oh, wow.
In the middle of rush hour traffic, this is probably about, I don't know, 11 a.m. I like my car was demolished, and he had a little scratch on the back of his, so it was okay. He wasn't tripping, but it was just one of those moments where it's like, oh my God, it was a life lesson.
Wow.
He tells that story. If ever you come across Chris Arnold and you say that you know me, 9 times out of 10 he will mention that story.
Oh, every time I see him, because I go up to the Fan quite a bit, 105.3. He's there now.
Right.
And he always, you talk to Ro? I'm like, man, just do like Facebook or something, you know, that's about it. But
Yeah, man, that's my OG, man. I appreciate Chris.
oh man, I mean, it seemed like, so I remember I used to run into you, you know, at the Mav games out in Victory Park. You know, you were
Right.
DJing, getting the fans hyped before they went in and all that stuff. So how did you go from UNT to there?
Man, there's so many steps in between. So after I graduated UNT, like I said, I maximized everything I could do at UNT, from working on radio to covering the football team to traveling, producing. I had multiple shows. There was a Mean Green magazine, which was like the UNT Sports Center, hosted, edited, produced, did that. There was another video show that I did that focused on music. And then again, interning with the Mavericks and Channel 8. I knew the Mavericks weren't going to hire me after I graduated. Found a job right out of college, market number 100, Savannah, Georgia, sports anchor, boom, go out there. It is a mess. It is the worst experience ever. The
Wow.
new director that hired me was like, oh, you have some flavor. You could be like our Stuart Scott, which was, you know, Stuart, that's a whole nother conversation. But I love Stuart Scott, watched him, influenced me. Get there, the news director that hired me left. So there's another news director that came in that didn't like that flavor. So it was just doomed from the start. Didn't last long there. Come back to Texas, start working at K104 as basically a glorified street team member. working radio, street team. And by the way, I will say this, K104 street team at the time, we were the highest paid street team in the nation by far. So made good coin. I mean, I used to call it K104 Bank because when you see everybody pull up in the morning in their cars, you're like, okay, I see what time it is. K104, that was awesome. Reconnected with the Mavericks because they saw what I was doing with K104, and they were like, well, hey, this is what we want to do. We're going to create this position to where you'll be the team DJ, and also we're going to do a team magazine show, and you'll be able to host that show. Because I had done some one-offs with the Mavericks here and there, some in-arena stuff. So they said, okay, this is what we're going to create for you. Shouts out to DJ Irie from the Miami Heat, the first NBA DJ. He kind of set the standard for them to want to do this. So get back with the Mavs, team DJ, hosting Mavs Insider, and everything from there. It just started to develop, and it was awesome.
And then, like, so, I mean, I remember seeing you, like me and my wife, we'd come, hey man, that was awesome. Like being able to see you, do your thing.
Right.
So you're doing that, you're doing it with the Mavs Insider, all that. You're still, are you traveling, doing shows? And
bro, I'm at that point, I was on fire. And I like to tell this story because I tell people relationships are everything. I went from a point for about, I would say, 8 to 10 years to where I didn't have to submit a resume. I didn't have to fill out an application. All I had to do was show up because people knew me. They knew my reputation by word of mouth, but they also saw what I was doing. So it was just like, hey, I need this. Oh, call Rowe. That simple. So I had the Dallas Mavericks. Then you had Fox Sports Southwest, which I was hosting Mavs Insider. I also had a stint with the Dallas Cowboys where I was a specialty team reporter working with the players, doing non-football stories in the locker room. So I built rapport there. I was also traveling, doing tours with the NBA as a DJ in the summertime. All-Star Weekend as well, they would invite me out. On top of that, the New Year's Big D NYE, which went on for about 7 seasons, or 7 years, I should say. I was the DJ and one of the hosts for the event for 5 of those 7 years. And that was broadcasted in 35 markets in the Southwest. It was basically the Southwest version of, just slipped my, the big ball drop in New York.
New Year's Rockin' Eve or whatever. Yeah.
So it was the Southwest version of that. Millions of homes were reached. So it was a TV show, a live event, 50,000 people out there, rock the crowd every year. So I was doing all of that. Oh, on top of club gigs, and player A is doing a football camp here. Hey, fly out and DJ my camp for me. Such and such basketball player is having something at a club. Come DJ for me. So I had a lot of different streams of income, and I was just all over the place.
So, I mean, that's amazing. Like that, I couldn't imagine it, especially now. But at the same time, when you're doing so much work, how's the personal life going?
Man, like I said, I was on fire at that point as far as my career, but my personal life, the life of the DJ, and that's another thing that made me want to retire, because the life of the DJ, man, that's a young man's game. I'm really big on looking towards the future, and I was like, I'm not going to say can't, but I don't want to maintain this pace as I get older. I don't want to be out in these streets. Women are going to flock regardless. I'm a handsome man, but on top of that, I'm in a very powerful position. I'm the conductor for the party every single night. And then when I'm not the conductor, you see my face on TV. And then you show up to the Mavericks game, you see me there. On New Year's Eve, I bring in your New Year's Eve with you. I'm working for Carnival Cruise Lines as a DJ teacher, so I'm on international waters. People see that and they're like, oh, I'm attracted to that. I want to be a part of that. So like I said, it came to a point, it was a combination of things, just making an abrupt career change and just focusing solely on being on television.
Well, I mean, I applaud you for it, man. I mean, I saw a little clip on the Carnival Cruise Line thing. So what was that exactly?
Carnival Cruise Lines, During the 2011 season, which was one of my favorite years ever, I'm referring to NBA.
Hmm.
Dallas Mavericks, of course, won a championship, which was amazing. That was one of the best moments of my life ever. So July 1st, the NBA lockout goes into effect. I receive a call from the Dallas Mavericks. I will never forget this. I was at randomly at a Quiznos eating a sandwich. Dallas Mavericks called me at 12:01 and say, "Hey, good to see you. It's been a good time." Little small talk. Oh, and by the way, the NBA
It's 3
lockout
o'clock.
has begun, and we just want to let you know that if you do anything with the NBA players, if you like any of their social media posts, if you retweet anything that they do, if you're seen in public, if you do a party, if you do this, if you do that, just went down a list of all these things. And then at the end, they said, you're virtually invisible to the players, and the players are invisible to you. And if you violate any of these, you will automatically sever your ties with the Dallas Mavericks.
Because you're a team. Because you're a team employee.
Right. So I was like,
Got you. Your organization, your owner side.
right. So I'm like, wait, come again, say what? We just won the championship. And I say we on purpose. We just won the championship. I'm getting all types of offers to do, like, I'm basically spending the money before it comes.
Right.
And because they won in July, so we had a number of parties in between then, and there's only going to be more as the summer goes on. And you tell me that if I do anything with the players, I can't make money. So I was like, all right, that's some bull junk. I don't like it, but I have to respect it and accept it. My bro, DJ Irie, I mentioned him earlier, the first NBA DJ ever. He is the mayor of Miami. He is bigger than life. He tours internationally. He has Will Smith, Jamie Foxx on his speed dial. He can call anybody he wants at any time. He said, Ro, I got something for you. I know the lockout is, doing whatever it's doing, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to create a DJ school on Carnival Cruise Lines called a Spiniversity. And this is not a DJ school for the patrons. This is a DJ school for the DJs that are already on the ship. I want you to come on here and whip these DJs into shape, because I saw them. They're not popping. We want to create a new atmosphere for Carnival Cruise Line. So when the patrons come into the club, they feel like they're going to a club in Vegas or Miami or any major city. So we want you to help curate that vibe, whip these DJs into shape. And baby, let me tell you, that's what I did. So during the lockout, which lasted for about 6-7 months, I was on the international waters, and my students loved me. I was tough, but I was fair. So we created an entire pamphlet, a handbook on the steps to being a great DJ. We had a core curriculum, and we had classes. And at night, we had tests. So I would go down for 2 weeks at a time, whip some DJs into shape, go to another ship. Like it was like clockwork for about a good 6-7 months. And then after the NBA season resumed, I wouldn't do it as much. But no, that was a cool time.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work. Being on a cruise. And the thing about this, I'll just insert this. It was weird for me because you're a contract worker. So you're not a crew member, but then you're also not a patron. So we had strict rules, no fraternization with any of the patrons that came on the ship. So that, for a young, handsome man like me that's out there on them international waters, what I'm saying, that put me in a tight bind. However, I did make friendly with a number of those crew members.
I was gonna ask that, but so what were you able to do to have fun? Like,
Allow me to retort. I was able to have fun.
No. Let me rephrase this. What public activities? What could you do on the cruise ship if you couldn't fraternize with?
Nothing. And I was all business. I'm really, when it comes to certain things, I know how to flip the switch. And I'm all business when it comes to certain things. I didn't want to embarrass, number one, myself or my family, but I also didn't want to embarrass DJ Irie, who I love and respect dearly. And I just wasn't gonna do it. There were opportunities there, and I politely declined, and then met up with them after we got off the ship.
Understood.
But while on the ship, while I was on the clock, it was strictly business, and this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm here for. This is my purpose. After hours, when we're in the club and crew members are in there, no problem. Have fun with the crew members, but patrons, nah, can't entertain you.
Well, and that, I mean, people got to learn, responsibility. A lot of people don't have that these days.
Yeah, responsibility and discipline.
So, yeah, yeah, that's a
Gotta
tough
have
one. That's a tough one for everybody, me included.
it is. Listen, I'm not immune to it either. However, I've had my moments, but I try to be the person that has discipline.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too.
Right.
So now you're with what, Turner Sports? Is that it? NBA
All right.
TV, right?
Well, so it's Warner Media. That's the merger that took place last year,
Right.
and the subsidiaries are a number of entities. Turner Sports is one of them, and then you have the networks, the umbrella of networks, which is TNT, obviously, NBA TV, and there's others. Turner Movie Classics, CNN, Cartoon Network. There's a number of networks under the Warner Media umbrella.
Gotcha. So, well, you know what? Let me digress because I'm not sure which one. You went to the London Olympics, right?
Correct. I've gone to the last. I was actually supposed to be at the Olympics this past year, but for the obvious reasons,
Right.
didn't make it. But yes.
So, with the focus on basketball or
No,
just
no, no. So,
everything?
so this was the Olympic trip was not anything work related. Well, it wasn't anything sports related. When I went to London, I did DJ there. So, but my family, shouts out to my pops, he has been a huge fan of the Olympics since he almost qualified for the Olympics back in the day during
Oh,
his
wow.
illustrious track career. So ever since 1984, at least one member of the family has been to the Olympics. So
That,
84, I take that back. Nobody went in 88, but 84, 92, 96, 2000, 04 we skipped for some reason. And I didn't go in Beijing, but I went in London and I was at in Rio.
wow.
So I've been to a total of 4 or 5 Olympics. So yeah, that's always just a big family trip, and it's man, it's amazing.
Uh, do you have, I mean, I know you said it's not work related. Do you get to go into like Olympic Village and stuff like that,
No,
or
no.
you're just there as a
Well,
spectator?
I'm there strictly as a spectator. I don't take advantage of my access, which I probably could, but I don't push it. I just merely go. Just it's basically a vacation, a good time with the fam. Go out and have some, some good times with the locals.
Man, what was
Uh,
what was Rio like?
you know what? Rio was tame because I was scared. I was not fooling with Rio. If I had gone there with some of my more famous friends who have access, I probably would have done more. But I was with the fam, and I would have been going out solo. And I was like,
A
I
little
don't.
scary.
I mean, well, there were so many. Well, let me just say this: when you pull up somewhere, you don't expect to see military vehicles out in
Mm,
the streets with soldiers with loaded rifles and attack artillery. Like you don't expect to see that, and they were everywhere. They had a presence, and all the Olympics that I've been to, I'd never seen that.
wow.
And like again, the language barrier, and I heard so many stories. I was like, man, I'm just gonna chill and go to sleep every night. I'm gonna work out in the morning, and I'm gonna go to the event and go to sleep.
So do you go to Winter Olympics too, or just summer?
Nah, nah, my dad's gone to a couple of Winter Olympics alone or with someone else, but no, we're strictly Summer Olympics. Basically, a lot of track and field. That's generally the events that we'll attend.
Gotcha. Where are your parents at now?
They're still in the great city of DeSoto.
Are you serious?
They
So,
are. They've
they,
been there.
same house?
No, no, no. They
Oh,
relocate.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I was just wondering. I remember seeing your dad all of our games.
yeah, yeah.
But so let me talk about this. How do you get into where you're at now? Like did you
Ooh,
interview? Did you get an offer? Did you get a phone call? Do you have an agent, by the way?
I do have representation,
Okay.
and this is how it works. And I had to break this down to one of my youngins the other day. He had reached out and said, "Hey, I'm on air now. I'm doing my thing. How do I submit my resume to Turner Sports? And I tell them, I was like, bro, I appreciate your ambition. I was there before. However, that's not how this works. You have to look at these major entities, these networks, basically like professional teams. You don't call them, they call you. And it's as simple as that. You get to a point to where you feel like you're ready, but unless they feel like you're ready and or you have the proper representation to put your materials in front of them, like it's not happening. There's no you walk in and fill out an application, I want to be on TV. Nah, bro, that's not it. But nah, it's a process, and it wasn't always great for me. Before I got to Turner, I was working in Chicago at a startup, the first digital sports network ever, called 120 Sports. We had a great roster, a number of former, professional athletes, media professionals, and it basically just went, down the drain because of poor management, improper planning, and the head of the whole operation, he passed away from cancer.
Oh,
God rest his soul, Andre Mika. He was amazing. He saw something in me that I didn't see, and he gave me an opportunity, and I'll be forever grateful to him and his family. But after he passed away, that's when everything started, going downhill. I got a contract offer for an extension, and then they pulled it and said, well, we can't. There was just a lot of BS going on, and next thing you know, I was out of a job. And I'd moved to Chicago, had changed everything. It was like, okay, this is going to be my big break, my first national gig, and it went to hell in a handbasket.
ooh.
So that was one of my low moments. That was the longest time I had gone without having, steady income. It was bad. It was really bad. I was just trying and you can't see this, but I can reach it. Hold up. Let me pull this. I keep this on my refrigerator on purpose. This right here, if you can see it,
Yep.
this says never forget, because it got so bad at one point to where, and I'm not knocking anybody's hustle, but being where I had been on that high pedestal, for me to say, okay, I'm going to start driving Uber on a daily basis just so I can have some income, it got that bad. So
Well, but
that,
that also goes back to the discipline and responsibility. You weren't,
right,
doing other stuff or stuff you shouldn't. You were doing what you needed to do. So
right,
that's respect. Not. I mean,
yeah,
I understand the motivation. I'm
right,
just saying, like
right.
that's.
Yeah, man. So that was a tough moment. Got tired of Chicago and said, I got to do something else. I had a number of friends in Los Angeles, said, man, just come out here. We can't promise you anything, but at least there's opportunity. You'll have a better shot than where you are in Chicago. Worked out an arrangement with my dad. I said, listen, I have a 6-month plan. I'm going to go to LA, and, if you can help me finance this, we can figure something out. And after 6 months, if it doesn't work, chunk up the deuce and just say, this wasn't for me. Go out to LA. It wasn't great, but found a place, and it was basically back to the grind. I had multiple vision boards up, everything I wanted written out. I had a plan. I had just got an agent, and I was just gonna start doing whatever I need to do, working contacts, just anything you can think of that's not irresponsible. I was
Right.
doing it in LA. So toward this, I got to LA in early summer, and around the end of my 6 months, I got to like month 5, and I was like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen. And miraculously, never on schedule, always on time. That's when things started popping. The first thing that happened, my agent at the time, she was like, listen, Deion Sanders needs a DJ for his show. We're gonna submit
Wow.
you for that. And I was like, cool. That was in October. Went to the audition. It wasn't even audition. I take that back. It was just, you're gonna go on. Just have your stuff ready. I went on, knocked it out the park. Prime was like, I think I still haven't asked him this, but we have a mutual friend. It was like, yeah, they told me about you before you came. I knew you was from the crib, and I knew such and such. All you had to do is just show up. But
Wow.
I showed up, but then I knocked it out the park. So that season, I was they brought DJs in every week, but I was the one that had the most appearances that year. They brought me back probably about 5, 6 times. I was able to finesse that into working a deal to where became the DJ for the entire season the next year, and they took me to Super Bowl and like so that was dope. Shouts out to Prime Time. You know better than anybody else. You couldn't tell me I wasn't Dion in high school.
No, number two and everything.
Hey, you couldn't tell me I wasn't prime.
Oh,
So
and 21. You had 21 too, didn't you?
I wore both of them. I wore
Yeah.
both. So you couldn't tell me I wasn't prime. But to have a relationship with Dion and for him to embrace me, that was something on another level. Okay, so go back to 2016. So that's still October. I do that, knock it out the park, like I said. A week later, I get a call from Olivia Scarlett, who worked for Turner Sports. And again, this comes back to relationships. I had a relationship with her from when the NBA would bring me to All-Star Weekend. We kept in contact. I'm big on relationships. I always stayed in contact. And she said, "Hey, we got something. We're putting this show together. It's about basketball, sneakers, pop culture, music, fashion." I was like, "That sounds like a whole bunch of stuff I'm into." She was like, "Yeah, well, we want you to come out on audition." I was like, "Cool." Came to the audition. Well, we talked on like a Tuesday. The audition was Thursday.
Oh,
So
wow.
they fly me out first class. Everything is top notch. We're in the nicest hotels. It's about 12 of us in a room. Myself, comedian Tony Rock, Ben Lyons, who had worked on E! News, Skylar Diggins. There were a number of individuals in the room auditioning. But for some reason, myself, Ben, and Tony just all connected, and we had a vibe. That vibe transferred to when we went out on set and audition. Long story short, we get the gig. They were looking for two people. They said, "We're going to take three." So you got the gig. Congratulations. And I'm like, dope. I got two great gigs. This is going to be awesome. We're going to fly you out once a week. But then later on in the conversation, shouts out to Tara August. They were like, "Well, hold up. How married are you to LA?" And I was like, I'm not. "Well, what do you think about moving to Atlanta, becoming a host for the warm up, which is the show I auditioned for, but we want you to also have a role with NBA TV." I was like, "Psh, I have a pen. Where do I sign?" It was that simple. So in the midst of basically a week, my life, 2 weeks, I should say, my life changed dramatically.
That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
and we see you on TV, all of us that know you from back in the day, and of course we're all proud, DeSoto proud. But
appreciate that.
man, I mean, that's an amazing story. Like you literally go from, hey man, I need a little help. I'm gonna go out here, and then if this doesn't work out, I'm done. To not only you're on one show, not on two shows. Technically, you were on three shows.
I was on a number of shows and on two different networks, and that right there, I was like, and again, to go back to my whole Deion Sanders thing, and Prime always told me, like, I would sit down and just absorb anything that he had to say. He would always say, "Listen, don't limit yourself. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't do, you know, just one thing. Always be versatile and show them." And as a testament to his career, doing it at the highest levels, I was like, you know what? If Prime can do it, I can do it. But yeah, everything changed, man, quickly.
Man, and you said 5 months.
Yeah, I got
Month
out
month five is when it started.
month 5 and a half. Let's see. May, June, July, August, September. Yeah, it was technically the 6 month. Technically the 6 month.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
Not I think it was the 6 month.
So what's in the works now? Like, do you have anything planned
Um,
that we don't know about, or?
well, no, there's I just signed my contract extension with Turner, so that's awesome.
Oh, congratulations.
Appreciate that. Especially in the pandemic, there's a lot of uncertainty, so that's one thing that I was glad to see come to the table. So there are a number of things that are in the works with Turner. There's also some things and I hate to do this. It's just I can't really
Oh no, I understand.
right now, but there's definitely some things in the works, and I'm extremely excited about what's about to happen.
Well, that man, we're all, I say we're proud of you like I'm your dad or something, but we're all proud, man. Like that's I mean that's it's just neat seeing somebody you know that I say grew up with. I guess we've known each other since I guess freshman year.
Right, right, right. Because you was on the east side, I was on the west side.
Yeah, you at the West. I'm sorry, but oh man, so
Um,
you're in touch with a lot of people in pop culture. Obviously, the NBA stuff like that. They had the bubble going on. That turned out to be a huge success. I mean,
it has been.
I enjoyed watching it. I think more. I work from home, so I enjoy being turn on YouTube TV or something, watching a basketball game at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, this is great.
Right, right, right.
So with the bubble, I know you weren't down in the bubble, right?
Correct.
So, but when things like that go on, I know you have the warm up and and the Shacked in a Fool and that type of stuff. Does your schedule get more hectic?
Generally, during the so the busy portions of the season are generally the opening week. That's always going to be crazy, just because basically about 2 weeks before the season, because we have a lot of preview shows and everybody's getting revved back up. The opening week, then everything settles down. Then around March Madness, everything gets crazy and picks up. Then it kind of hits a little valley, and then it goes right back up for the first two rounds of the playoffs.
Right.
So it's a lot more on the schedule, a lot more games, a lot more focus. And we're kind of at a point now and at the end of the conference finals and at the end of the second round in the conference finals, where it kind of goes to a valley. And then around the finals, it'll start peaking again. This is going to be unique because for the first time in the history of the NBA and the WNBA, you're going to have conference finals and finals going on simultaneously. And that's never happened. So we're going to basically have all hands on deck.
Well, I mean, like I said, it was just more entertaining to me. And I'm a diehard Mavs fan. Obviously, when the playoffs come around, I watch, whoever. But man, it seemed like an AAU tournament. Like, it's almost like going
Yeah.
to, when they have those traveling tournaments, you've got, Oakmont and all those type schools coming in and playing. It seemed more entertaining.
Yeah, and that's what I've said that a number of times, as have plenty of others, the adult AAU circuit. So that's generally what it's been.
Yeah. Oh man. I gotta ask this, man. I'm a Caucasian male. You're an African American male.
Really, I didn't
And,
know.
yeah, I know, man. But I gotta ask this. And everybody sees on the NBA games, the Black Lives Matter and all, the support that the NBA is giving that. You obviously have a different viewpoint and have lived differently than me. But first off, have you ever had an experience with any kind of law enforcement that may have been questionable, so to speak?
Well, anytime, as a man of color, anytime that you see a police car in your vicinity when you're driving, there's just an automatic feeling of, I can't really describe it, but there's an uneasy feeling immediately, and you want to do anything and everything possible not to get pulled over. And that's just real. As far as people that look like me, that's something that, uh, yeah, it's just not a good feeling. So as soon as that, cop car passes you, it's like a giant sigh of relief. So that's one thing. And but then the other side is when you do get pulled over, I can't say that I've had a bad experience. However, I'm always super cautious, and like everybody knows now, your parents have that talk with you to prepare you for that, so you understand what to do, what not to do, and how to basically come back home alive. So I've always done everything to cooperate with the officers, and I've never had a problem with any type of police brutality. Thank the good Lord. However, I mean, there have been some times where I'm just like, okay, what is going on? Um, I yeah. So
Well, and you know, and to me, like what you just said is actually two different things.
right,
Um, you know, just the, what I'm trying to put this delicately. What people on my side of the fence would say, excuse me, you know, they go to the second part. They don't even think about the first part, like being scared of just getting pulled over.
right,
Um, is different than thinking, you know, well, they should just abide by what the cops say, you know, et cetera, et cetera. It's just the simple fear that people don't understand.
right.
I mean, and everybody, you know, if police lights go off behind me, you know, I'm get a little nervous, but I'm not afraid. And I don't think people understand that. And I think that's what NBA players, a lot of pro players are trying to get out. That it's not just, you know, it sounds really bad. People getting shot and whatever else, and then people on the other side saying, "Oh, well, they got, you know, they should have listened. They should have done this. That wouldn't have happened."
Right.
It's not about that. It's about the initial. Why are they getting pulled over? Why are they? Um, I mean, honestly, scared. And I just think people don't understand that whole aspect of it.
Yeah, and these are things that have just. I, I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but when something has been going on for 400 plus years, they look at, and when I say they, people that generally look like you look at people like me back then, and they view us as something that's not a valuable commodity. So that's why you have laws that are in place, you know, three-fourths a man, and, you know, voter suffrage. You have all these things that are placed because some of your ancestors felt like we weren't good enough. We weren't viewed as like I said, valuable. And that goes for even women as well, because there are laws in place to prevent them from doing certain things. So it's kind of like this superiority factor, or this superiority complex that some of your ancestors have over people that look like me. And it's just something that's carried on from generation to generation, unfortunately. And it's sad, and it's not going to change immediately. It's something that we're still dealing with now. And it's going to take a lot to change something that's been going on for damn near 500 years.
Well, on it's education, honestly. I mean, in the home, in the school,
Right,
you know, everything. It all it's defeating ignorance is what it is. I mean,
right,
and that's all it is. I mean, you know, and the fear of not knowing. I mean, you know, different water fountains because why? I mean,
right,
why?
right.
I mean, so, um, yeah. Do you think there's an answer? Do you think they'll find an answer? Somebody's way smarter than me is going to have to figure that one out.
I don't think there's one answer. It's going to take, as you mentioned, education. It's going to take more conversation, uncomfortable conversations. It's also going to take legislation. I love the fact that, you know, you have professional franchises changing their names. You have, you know, sports entities removing flags. You see Confederate statues taken down. Like, all that symbolism is great. I applaud it. It's excellent. Black Lives Matter on the courts, hashtags on the back of jerseys. All that's great. However, what are we doing to actually make real change?
Oh,
So
I agree.
that's the answer, and it starts with understanding how important your vote is. So I encourage people, if you're not registered to vote, get registered. And then, as everybody says, let your voice be heard. But before you go, take a little time. There's multiple websites out there to where you can find out who you need to be voting for, who has your interest in mind. So do your research. And another thing is, the presidency, that's a whole nother conversation. But you, whoever that's listening right now, worry about what's going on locally. worry about what's going on in your state, because your state, your city, etc., because that is where you begin to make change. You can't do it all at one time, but if you start small here, start small there, then eventually you can build something up.
Completely agree. Um, I that's all I got today, man. You got any shout outs you want to give, your social media? Yeah.
Um, Parrish on all social handles. That's ROPARRISH. So I want to put that out there. Thank everyone, especially all the NBA fans. We appreciate you. We love you. Shouts out to anybody that has any association or love for DeSoto High School. And man, I'll just say this. I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second. I think that I probably have as much love for DeSoto as the next person. I've been, well, not anymore, but I've been a person who's been heavily involved with the program, doing whatever I can to give back, whether it be mentoring kids or just helping the coach out, coming to speak, like whatever. I've always been available for DeSoto. And to see everything that's gone wrong with that school district, with that athletic department over the last 3.5 years is just extremely disappointing. I hate to use this analogy, but this is what I say. I say my baby right now, my baby is in an abusive, a physical and mental and emotional abusive relationship. And she doesn't know what to do. She can't do anything to get out of it, but she keeps saying, "Oh, this ain't nothing. I just fell and hurt myself." My baby won't acknowledge what's really going on, and it's really sad. Shouts out to Coach Peterman, who is a brother of mine. I love and respect him dearly. He did everything in his power while he was the head coach to make sure things were done right on and off the field. State championship, I mentioned it at the top. We've had a number of professional athletes start at DeSoto. So the talent had always been there, but for some reason, couldn't get that state championship. Coach Peterman came in, got it done. But on top of that, on top of the state championship, for 2 consecutive years, he set records for the number of academic All-Americans. His students,
Amazing.
his students didn't fail. They stayed in class, they got their grades, so they were eligible to play. He did everything right, but there were certain individuals within the independent school district that didn't like him for whatever reason. And I spoke on it in public. I spoke on it in private. I've been on social media. I said what I needed to say. Not going to ramble on, but they did him dirty. They should have left him alone. He did everything right. And now you can look at the school and the athletic program and you can see it's not the same. I don't know if it's ever going to be the same. I haven't been back to DeSoto probably in the last, ever since they let Coach Peterman go, I have not been back.
I'm surprised that the state hasn't taken the district over, honestly.
That's something that the TEA, in my opinion, they should have done that at least a year, if not. Yeah, let me calm down. I get emotional about it,
No,
but
I understand. I'm right there with you.
You can relate, and you're right there at the ground floor. You see everything happening. So I mean, I see it from afar, and all I can do is just drop my head, and it's disappointing. Hopefully things can turn around, but I have little to no confidence that it will.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, they just did because here 5A, 6A schools are getting ready to start playing now. It was only up, 6-man up to 4A. We're doing a normal schedule. Well, they just started practice like last week, and the one school that I think it was Channel 4 or Channel 11 did a piece on getting back to practice. It was at DeSoto, Coach Mathis, and all them, and I guarantee you, the district, that the PR machine there at DeSoto was praying for them to come out there and do the piece on them to, kind of shield away some of the other negative stuff that's going on.
Man, all I'll say is this. I love Deion Sanders. I love Prime. That's my guy. Took a look at the schedule and I see that his team, his Trinity Raiders, are going to be playing DeSoto. There's only been one other time in history where I've openly rooted against DeSoto. Only one other time. This was the previous coach before Coach Mathis. I believe it was Coach
Meadows.
Yeah. There was a game against one of our heated rivals, the Duncanville Panthers. It was at DeSoto, last game of the season. And basically, if Duncanville won the game, they probably were going to let him go. And I was at that game. I didn't wear Duncanville colors, but I didn't wear DeSoto colors. I was working for 104, and I openly I let it be known that I was rooting for Duncanville. And yeah.
Well, I understand that one too. Believe me.
I know you do. So to bring it full circle, this might be the second time in history, and I believe they play at DeSoto. Part of me wants to show up at that game and just stand on the sidelines with Prime, which I haven't decided if I'm going to do yet. But
Well,
to be continued.
No, well, hey, maybe you'll see me there. Well, man, when you come back to town, if you come back then, man, hit me up. We'll grab a bite to eat or something, man. Catch up. But I really appreciate you coming on. Sure, everybody listening, I'm sure is gonna really enjoy this. And love to have you back on sometime.
Nah, man. Hey, I appreciate you for having me, man. This has been a cool conversation. Former teammates chopping it up. You know, I got all my teammates that I had at one time. I always try to make sure I do what I can for them. There's a handful I don't fool with, but that's another story because they might have burned me in some way. But for the most part, like whether it's football players, the brief time I played basketball or track, like anybody that was my teammate, it's like, okay, what can I do to help? You know what I'm saying? So I'm always down.
Well, and I appreciate it. I really do. Really appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy man. I'm sure you got to get to work tonight. Got, the conference finals coming up and all that stuff.
Now, I got a conference call before the conference finals. So
well, all right, man.
Yeah, but no, you're good. You're good. You're good. It's a part of the life, man. It's part of the life.
I understand. You're living it, man. You are absolutely living it.
Yeah.
But this is Chad Snyder with Roe Parrish, the Average Chad Lifestyle. Hit the subscribe button, download it, like it, rate it. We're always looking for suggestions. And until next time.
Roscoe!
All right, man.
And I'm in love with the good life.